All right. My guest this morning is Mitch Shults, and he is the treasurer candidate from the Libertarian Party. And Mitch, you have been the Rogue of the Week 2 times in a row.
Yeah, I got punished. I am very proud of that.
How did you get that? How do you do this?
Well, it was kind of accidental. I managed to get myself invited to the City Club of Portland debates.
Right.
And Willamette Week wasn't happy about that once Lloyd Marbett started complaining about the fact that he wasn't invited.
Right, and
so they launched I agree too, and they launched an attack on the City Club. I guess I should call myself the mini rogue of the week, because I was only mentioned prominently. The City Club was the actual named rogue of the week, and I was the reason why they were the rogue of the week. So I got lots of free publicity out of that.
You're a Libertarian. You're running on the Libertarian ticket. You're running against the Democrat Randall Edwards and the Republican John Kvistad, both of which I've had on this program before, but I've had you obviously on here probably the most. And always appreciate getting you on here, because in a lot of ways you and I philosophically agree on just about everything. But I'm like going through the internet, and I jump on the papers all over the state, the Statesman Journal, the Eugene Register Guard, the Oregonian, and I take a look at what they have on there. And I pull up the Statesman Journal on October 21st. That is, was that Saturday?
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
I'm trying to think. I knew it was over the weekend.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it says, Libertarian Shults, best for treasurer. You have the endorsement of one of the largest papers in the state of Oregon, the Salem Statesman Journal. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm not sure I'd be proud of the Statesman, but being a Libertarian Party candidate...
It was a bit of a shock and a surprise, but you read the editorial, and they have a very interesting theory by which they rationalized endorsing me, and I actually agree with it.
Shults is the most articulate, innovative candidate in the 5-person race. He's the director of business development for the Fabric Components Division of Intel Corporation, Oregon's private largest employer. If voters pass some of the ballot measures, Oregon will need Shults' business-like, not business-as-usual approach. Those tax, spending, and land use initiatives could devastate Oregon financially. We could be looking at privatizing universities and prisons, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is they were very, very supportive of you. And that's amazing. I was reading this, and it's actually, I don't think I've ever read a Statesman Journal editorial that I actually agreed with. And you did a great job on this.
Well, walking in there, I read their editorial the day of the interview, and it was very anti-Measure 7, and I figured, I'm in trouble on this one. But evidently I impressed some people. So
do you know that the Statesman Journal was one of those papers? Last election cycle, folks, he's talking about the measure that I've been involved in to make sure that landowners get compensated when government takes your property, ballot measure 7, and they've been opposed to it, obviously. They were equally opposed to ballot measure 56 back in 1998, which would have provided that you had to notify landowners before you changed the regulations on their property. They were totally opposed to notifying landowners. How dare we do that? That'll gut everything. And I got to tell you something funny. Yesterday, Dick Hughes, who's the Statesman Journal lead editorial, he calls me up and he's mad about the 26 ballot measures made simple. You want to know why? Because I didn't use inflammatory rhetoric in there. And by not using inflammatory rhetoric, I try to come off as non-biased. And I said, no, I was trying to have a civil discussion with people and not scare them. But anyway.
Those of us on the right understand what civility is.
How dare we? How dare we try to have a civil conversation and not try to scare people? How dare we try to be intellectually honest with people? I can't even imagine that.
Because the current situation's scary enough as it is. We don't have to amplify it anymore.
Mitch, you have been running an interesting race. Obviously, you're up against two seasoned politicians, in John Kvistad and Randall Edwards. Both of them are very nice. You work with both of them, and you do have probably the most experience in the field with your background in venture capitalism and a lot of those different kinds of things that are important to the state treasurer's position. But give me some insight on the politics of how you're running this. What's your gut feeling out there? I've seen a lot of signs for you, but are people ready to vote for a third-party candidate?
Well, I've had a lot, particularly in the last couple of weeks. It's anecdotal. We haven't done any polls. Polls are expensive. I've been putting my money on the TV and on the radio ads, and I'm running statewide. Those are expensive, too, but that's the main focus of the campaign right now. The feedback I've received from just constituents contacting me over the internet, through email, by phone calls, asking my positions on things in order to make their voting decision, has been very, very positive. These are people I don't know, I've never met, and they're reviewing me on the merits of the position in the voters pamphlet, and they're responding positively. I'm seeing a lot of positive reaction to the fact that I represent a very real choice for the first time in a statewide race.
You know, one of the big goals, obviously you want to win the treasurer's position. You're not in this to lose. You're not in this to do it. But there is another goal that the Libertarian Party is hoping to get on your shoulders, which is to get to 15% of the statewide vote. And if you get to 15% of the statewide vote, what happens for the Libertarian Party?
Well, according to the rules of engagement in politics in this state, that makes the Libertarian Party a major party in the state of Oregon. Now that might not seem all that significant, but in reality there are a number of legal benefits that unfortunately are taxpayer funded that are associated with major party status. Foremost among those is the fact that we would get to run primaries. Primaries are basically free advertising on behalf of candidates funded by the taxpayers. We'd like to get in power so we can end that practice, because political parties are private entities. They shouldn't be taxpayer funded at all. But until you're in power and in a position to change it, you might as well play by those rules.
It just seems like to me that there's several battles to win in this for you. I mean, you would love to get enough votes to be the next state treasurer,
Sure.
and a lot of people do view you as probably the most qualified of all three candidates, all three major party candidates. I consider you a major party candidate right now. But the fact of the matter is it's the politics of this whole thing that I even find more interesting.
Yeah.
The importance of any party, and I think Lloyd Marbett and Ralph Nader are trying to do it for the Pacific Green Party, is that in this state we have barriers to parties becoming major parties,
Sure.
which is this 15%, and that's a very high standard, it appears to me.
In a statewide race, that's right.
I mean, that is very, very tough to do.
It's not easy.
And then it's hard to raise money, and then if it's hard to raise money, then it's hard to get major party status, and without major party status, it's hard to raise money. It's
Joseph Heller would call that a catch-22.
Exactly. Give me some insight on what you're doing, try to make sure that you get as much exposure as possible for this election cycle. People are voting right now.
Yes, they are, and there's a number of things they can do. One, if they watch cable TV on CNN and a number of other channels, they'll see my TV ads. They're kind of humorous. I am trying to not do the standard politician talking head, I'm here to help you kind of thing, since my whole idea is I'm here to help you help yourself. The other thing I'm doing is running radio ads across the state on a variety of different stations, and the political elite don't think they're all that great, but the man on the street seems to find them humorous, and there's good name retention from that, so that's been effective. You mentioned the signs, we're doing those as well. And
you've done a great job with your sign campaign. I got to give you credit on that.
They're in the main corridor, and given how well OSU and U of O are doing this year in football, there's plenty of traffic going up and down the corridor, so that's paid off for me.
I have seen your signs. I drove to Eugene, I think a week and a half ago, and I was shocked. I think you had more signs than any other treasurer candidate from Portland to Eugene.
No, up in that corridor. Now, I haven't put them all over the cities. John probably has more signs up than I do.
Right.
But I think I have the most effective locations out there and where it counts. Other than that, I'm touring the state, talking to editors, talking to radio people and TV people, and looking forward to it being over on the 7th.
I bet you are. I mean, it's hard. I guess one of the things I try to explain to people how tough it is to run for office. And regardless, win, lose, or whatever happens in this, you learn something new about the political process, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
From running. But people also need to thank people like you, and I'd like to, just to let you know that I appreciate people who are willing to put themselves out there and who are willing to put their name out there, go through the debate, be called all the names you're called, and go through this process, because I think it's really important. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Libertarian Treasurer candidate Mitch Shults, who got the recent endorsement of the Statesman Journal in Salem. It's a huge, huge, big win for the Libertarian Party here in the state of Oregon. I'm Larry George, and you're listening to Westside Radio, AM 1360.
One of the few good men. Colonel Oliver North, weekdays 12 till 3 on AM 1360.
Why is Eileen Q-Tub attacking Ryan Deckard? The Oregonian says QTUB is misleading voters to conceal her right-wing record. QTUB claims she supports background checks for gun purchases. But here's State Senator Ginny Burdick, the sponsor of a key gun safety measure.
Eileen QTUB cast the deciding vote against reasonable legislation to close the gun show loophole.
The Oregonian says QTUB consistently voted with the NRA to block gun measures. QTUB claims education is her top priority. But Priscilla Turner, Beaverton parent and school board member, says
Eileen QTUB's record shows her lack of commitment to the children of Washington County.
According to the Oregonian, when parents and teachers went to Salem to see her, QTUB declined to meet with them. And QTUB claims she is committed to quality health care for women. Yet she supports making abortion a crime and has a 100% rating from Oregon Right to Life. Eileen QTUB concealing her right-wing record. The wrong choice for state senate.
Paid for by friends of Brian Deckard.
Now, a Westside Radio AM 1360 traffic and weather update.
But mainly down around 99 is where we had some slowing towards the I-5 system. A steady buildup also moving up towards Carmen and 217. Doesn't look too bad until you get up again into the Twilliger curves. Make Albertsons your Halloween party headquarters for great low prices on party trays, decorations, candy, snacks, and beverages, and a lot more. Albertsons is your store. Todd Dorsey, Westside Radio, AM 1360.
48 degrees under cloudy skies here at the Hillsborough Airport. For the Portland metro area today, cloudy, 30% chance of rain, and a high of 60. Showers decreasing tonight, the low down to 45. Then tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a high of 58. We'll get back to Larry George and Dateline here in just a minute. Once again, 48 degrees at the Hillsborough Airport.
Good old-fashioned one-upmanship. Yes, outdoing your neighbor is an American tradition. When old Bob gets a weed whacker, you've got to have the turbo weed whacker. Maybe it's time the DirecTV installer made a little house call. That's right. Now that proud satellite slinger in the blue felt cap is offering free standard installation when you buy a DirecTV system and sign up for Total Choice programming, guaranteeing that you and not your neighbor has the best, nay, the ultimate in television. Imagine access to over 225 channels of digital nirvana to his analog same old, same old. Local channels, mister, you got 'em. After all, why settle for cable TV that's had to burrow through the ground like some lowly rodent when you can enjoy crystal clear television beamed to you all the way from outer space? Call 1-800-DIRECTV today to learn more about our free installation special. Hardware and programming sold separately. Programming subject to change. Offer ends 1/14/01. Other conditions apply. See retailer for details. Call 1-800-DIRECTV today.
You're bombarded daily with news on the regional, national, and international scene. But what really makes a difference is what's going on in your own neighborhood. Here's the local news angle this week. A judge sentences a Banksman to prison for the rest of his natural life. That after he pleads guilty to the murder of a 70-year-old man in 1988. Most people read their local newspaper cover to cover. They read about their kids, neighbors, schools, and issues that affect them every day. Subscribe to the Forest Grove News today. Call 968-NEWS.
It's 7:23. Let's return to Larry George. More of Daybreak on AM 1360.
Welcome back to the program, and I've only got Mitch Shults here for a few more minutes. He is a Libertarian candidate for the state treasurer's position. And Mitch, this is probably the last time I get to interview you before the big election day, and obviously people are voting right now. Give me some insight, if you would. What do you hope to do to win in the next week and a half here?
Well, I'll be touring the state throughout the following week. I've been talking to a bunch of folks this week, and you know, at this point, there's only a little bit incrementally that one person can do around the state. I'll be visiting some of the places I haven't been to in a while. I've really been all over the state. That's been one of the most enjoyable aspects of this whole campaign.
Isn't it a wonderful part of politics? You get to travel all over.
Yeah, it's tiring, but it's also very enjoyable to see places and meet people that I would never otherwise have done. You know, I like to say people at Intel sleep in Oregon, but they don't really live here. And that's not true for me at this point, and I'm very proud of that fact. But the The main focus for the next week is to finish up some of those discussions in some of the areas outside of Portland, continue running the campaigns, and talking to constituents. People can get a hold of my campaign and get a hold of me personally very easily.
Let's do that. Where do they call, and where do they go on the internet?
We have an 800 number that is always on and will get to me and my campaign manager very quickly. We've been getting a lot of messages through that. I've enjoyed talking to constituents. That number is 800-631-8292. And if folks have any questions about some of my major issue positions and so forth, they can find that on my website at www.shults2000.com.
Now, I got to say this, Mitch. I always spell your last name incorrectly.
In fact, a lot of people do. That is my primary campaign objective, is to get people to spell my name right in the state. It's S-H-U-L-T-S.
TSC, it's even spelled incorrectly on my form here. And it says Z there, and so it's S-H-U-L-T-S.
That's right.
Is it, and
2000.com.
.com.
Yeah.
All right, so people will go there.
Technically, it should be a .org, but I figure people are used to typing .com, so that's why I called it that.
Technically.
And if people want to view aren't in a position to see my ads, they're on satellite or only broadcast.
Out in the country or something.
Out in the country, they can view those online. As far as I know, I'm the only candidate in the state who has streaming media capability on my website, and they can view both of those ads from the main page.
Well, let me just, if I could, just let you know that I've been very impressed with your campaign all year long. You have approached this thing with integrity, and when every other major candidate is running away from ballot measures that they believe in, but they're afraid of what the media might say about them, you have been standing strong and defending it. And I find what's funny, like for instance on ballot measure 91, the double taxation, where people are getting taxed on money they're already that they lost through taxes.
Yeah.
And the polls have showed that that's an overwhelmingly popular issue, but the established media obviously hates it.
Right.
And what happened is the established media is almost afraid to take you on that issue because they know that you know more about it than they do.
Every time they do, they lose.
Exactly. So they quit doing that. And I notice when they write articles about you, they don't even mention the fact that that you take these positions. And I wonder sometimes if more people who are involved in political discussion and as candidates would take the positions and stay strong to the principles if we would move the ball a lot further.
Well, that's one of the values that I think I bring and have brought to this campaign and the political process generally, because I am willing, of necessity, to take those kinds of risks and be controversial. It does create more coverage, and it defines me as a candidate and defines my position more effectively. My opponents can get away with resting on their D's and R's and relying on the standard political dynamics and media and public manipulation, basically, to get elected. I can't afford that. I don't have the resources to do it. It doesn't work. I've got to stand for something, and I do, and apparently that's been effective, and I hope that has an impact on the behavior of other politicians in the future.
Mitch, obviously one of the tough things you have to face is that about 30% of voters in the state vote automatically for Democrats. About 25% of voters in the state automatically vote for the Republican.
And in a three-way race, there's plenty left to win.
Yes, there is enough to win. But my question to you, I guess, is that will you be happy if you get your 15%?
I'll be very happy if that happens. And I think there's a very good possibility of that occurring. That's 1 in 5 voters in the state, almost. Yeah. That's a significant achievement. So.
Mitch, you've done a great job. I appreciate you being on the program so many times. I appreciate you being available to us to go over so many of these different issues. You've had some great insight, and I've truly enjoyed it, and I look forward to working with you, obviously, after the elections, too.
You're very welcome, Larry.
Let's give out the phone number again. For those of you who want to get a hold of Mitch's campaign, 1-800-631-8292, or you can go to www.shults2000.com, and that's SHULTS 2000.com. I'm Larry George. Time for local news, traffic, weather, and the stock report here on Westside Radio, AM 1360.